everybody, it's Emily from Life Sew Savory, and today I'm going to be sewing a super cute wool sack purse as promised. And I think my face is looking so weird here in this lighting, so I hope it doesn't stay like this because I can't hardly stand it. So anyway, I'm not a zombie in real life, even though right now I feel like I'm looking like one. So let me go ahead and do my shares here, and then we will get started. So I'm going to be sewing up my free wool sack purse bag. It's so cute, and I've got some fun flannel to make it out of, but it works great with wool or flannel or any little bit thicker bag or fabric for the outside. And then, you know, you can put whatever you want on the inside. I have a thinner, just lining fabric, trying to make it easy. So, yeah. So anyway, that's what we're doing today. I'm glad you're here. I've got some other projects going here and working on things for the next couple days. But I'm excited to be here with you guys today and sew this bag. I'm planning on using it myself. Hopefully as soon as we're done, I can start using it. So I've been using a different purse that I made several years ago. Also a homemade, home sewn one. Why can I not figure out how to do this? This is like being weird when it wants to try and edit it. I don't know. So let me see here. Anyway, what are you guys up to today? Did you watch the inauguration this morning? I caught bits and pieces of it while I was working around here. Always interesting to see history being made. So that was kind of what I have done, and then I was able to catch lunch with my husband, which is always nice too. So he was able to get away from work, and I had a few minutes before the show, so that was fun. Okay, I think I'm getting it here, ladies. Like I said, the color is really weird on my face. I feel like I look like a zombie. And so hopefully when I go over to the sewing machine, I don't look like this, but it's driving me crazy. I promise you, this is not how I look in real life today, even though it seems like it. So, I don't know. Okay. So I'm just finishing up, sorry. Okay, so let me show you the bag pieces. I have linked to the free sewing pattern and tutorial in the post here. And today I'm gonna try something a little bit different for the outer pocket rather than the pocket that is described in the post, but you can go ahead and execute that one using, I think there's also a video tutorial showing you how to do that sort of pocket that's on the original bag. So I'm gonna try something a little different. You know, I like to play around and just experiment. I know, look at my face. It's like glowingly weird pale, and my eyes look red. I don't know what's going on. Is it maybe the shirt I'm wearing, the earrings? It's so weird. So I'm gonna try a little different pocket, but again, the pocket that's in the photos, that is detailed with a video and pictures in the post that's linked in the description of this video. So let's talk about what we have. So you need, I need to cut some zipper tabs. You need a zipper. I have a double opening zipper just for fun, and I think they are great for bags and purses. So that's what we have. I know, at least I'm not green. That was also a super weird time. I have a 14-inch zipper that I'm going to use for my new pocket, hopefully. Let me grab some scraps here out of the garbage that's right here at my feet. So I forgot I need to cut some zipper tabs for the ends of the zipper. Let's see, so I'm also going to have 2 zipper tabs, and my zipper is just slightly shorter. It's what I had, slightly shorter than recommended. So I'm going to make nice long zipper tabs, and then I can always cut them down, but I need to double check that these are long enough. So we're gonna have 2 long zipper tabs. We have the zippers. I have 2 bag linings, and this is cut just as described on the pattern pieces, except for I rounded the corners of my bag just slightly more than normal. So usually it's a little bit boxier. The printable pattern is a little bit boxier, but it's really easy just to sort of round the corners. I cut this extra piece of lining that I'm going to use for my experimental pocket. I have, oh, that's the scrap. I have an inside pocket cut, and I have the strap cut, which is just sort of this chunky strap because the rest of it is sort of this sack bag. And then I have my front and my back cut. Isn't this so cute? So this is what I'm going to use on the outside, and what I'm hoping to use to create a fun diagonal pillow or diagonal zipper on the outside of my bag. So, oh, okay. So we're going to, I'm going to move all these cut pieces and the long zipper over to the sewing area so that I can kind of take a look at my new experimental pocket idea. And it's not totally new and experimental because I saw a picture of one that looked like this, but I'm going to put the camera down here so you guys can see. So what my hope is to cut this bag piece in half on the diagonal, and then insert the zipper sort of in the center, and then we're going to use this to put a pocket pouch on the back side, so that, you know, this is where it can go. So I want this to be a nice big zipper, right? Because I have a 14-inch zipper opening, and it will be the size of the entire entire bottom of this. So I think the first thing I need to do is cut my angle, and I'm trying to think. So if I fold this in, no, that won't work. So I really probably just need to use a straight edge and cut it. So where do I want it? Like this high up, maybe? So there's a bigger pouch on this side than the other. Okay, I'm chopping this in half. It better work because I don't have any extra fabric. I mean, we can definitely make it work. We could even just sew this back together if this is a complete flop. But okay, so now let me find the center of this. Okay. And the center of the zipper, I'm just going to try to mark it in a few spots before we get to sewing. Okay, so with right sides together, I'm just going to put that there. So what I'm thinking is we will sew this to this side, and then we'll sew it to the other side, and then we'll sew the sides back together here, and hopefully we'll have an inseam zipper. Right? So that's my thoughts. We have a few minutes to actually execute this. So if you have any tips or ideas, or think I am totally off on doing this, now is the time to speak up and save me from myself if you think I've gone totally astray on doing this. So I also was going to point out that this piece, I didn't add the extra curve, so I'm going to do that now. And then I want to cut it to be about the same as this bottom of the bag for the pocket pouch. So I'm gonna leave a little bit of a seam allowance here on the top, just so I have a little bit of room to play with. Okay, but now I have my pocket pouch and my 2 bag pieces. So I think that's the first thing we're gonna start with, is trying to put this side of the bag back together with this pocket. All right, so I am gonna bring up the tutorial on my site so that I can follow along with that if needed. I'm gonna face it towards my sewing area. Follow along as needed if I need help. Okay, so, oh, look at my color's a little bit better. I would place the top of the zip at the top of the bag. Okay, so Jane, you are suggesting to not sew it here in the middle, right? Are you saying sew it all the way here on the edge? Is that what I'm hearing? I'm not sure. I could do that and then just leave a little bit of room for the side seam. That's a good idea. But while you're clarifying what you're thinking, let me go ahead and put my zipper foot on my machine. So this, I think I told you guys last week, but normally this machine is like in storage and they only bring it out for larger embroidery projects because it has a beautiful, huge embroidery hoop, so I bring it out for that. But because my cover stitch is still in the shop and probably will be for another month, as the brother dealer has said they're so far behind, I just have had this one out and I'm playing with it and doing more things with it. So it's been kind of fun to have a new one out. So I think I'm gonna stick with sewing this in the center. Although I see what you mean. If I put it up here, then, because this is where the largest part of the pouch would be, and this is a smaller part. So, okay. No, zip it at the, wait a second, I gotta scroll back. Zip it on the diagonal, but from the top to the bottom of the diagonal. Right, so you mean move it up here to the top of the diagonal? I think that's what, or, are you saying turn it around where the pull tab is? Would I want to unzip it down and zip it back up? I think I like the pull tab there. Okay, well, all right, we're going with it in the center. Again, this is an experiment. I saw a picture of a bag that had a diagonal pocket like this, and it may or may not be my best option, but you guys can take what I learned from today and make your own adjustments, because after it's done once, you almost always can do it better, right? You can do it better than I can. Okay, so let me sew this here. And I have a heavy duty needle on here. I'm trying to think what I was just sewing that I had a heavy duty needle. I can't even think. I was sewing something and I put a heavy duty needle on here, and I decided to leave it on simply because we're going to be sewing through multiple layers of fabric, and you know, flannel can get a little bit thicker. So I left it on today, but now that's going to bother me what I was sewing last with this heavy duty one. Okay, so there is the zipper, and now I'm going to, okay, so we're going to open this up. We're going to baste. Okay, so now I'm going to think through this. I'm going to take my pocket pouch, because that will be turned over, and I am going to baste this into the seam allowance. You guys, I'm totally talking my way through this and making this up as I go. Okay, so I'm gonna baste it into the seam allowance so that when we open it up, we have a pocket pouch where this, right? So if I open this up and fold it to the back and then we unzip the zipper, oh no, then it will be closed. Okay, so I don't want to baste it to this, I want to baste it to the top because I can't have that. Okay, so let's try this. We're going to put the top part of the diagonal on. You guys get to see my process, which is not always pretty here. Sometimes it's a bunch of nonsense. And when I'm sharing a pattern or a tutorial and I have, you know, made several, like 3 or 4 practice ones that are in pictures, it's probably because the first couple did not work out and then I had to make a bunch more to figure out how to write the tutorial for you guys. All right, so we're going to baste this and I might be missing what you're saying because now I'm trying to put this other side of the zipper in. Okay, so now I have put it on the other side of the zipper. If I open this up, you can see that the zipper is in the middle, right? And while I'm sewing this, I'm also going to include this pocket pouch so that when I open this up, think about it, it encloses the zipper and gives us a pocket pouch if we sew the bottom. Should do all that. So I'm gonna sew it on my sewing machine and see if it works out like I think. So I have the zipper foot still on here for the sewing, as well as for when I get to the zipper part of this, which is right here. And I'll have to see how the ends of my zipper sewed here to see if we need to do any fixing there on the edges. But so on this side, I'm sewing 3 layers of fabric, well, 3 layers, one zipper and 2, it got a little aggressive there, and 2 of fabric. So I have my lining and I have my flannel. And I do have a zipper foot here on my machine. Oops. Okay, so now we open it up and we hope for the best. Okay, so, the back looks good. Okay, the back, this is my enclosed pocket pouch like I wanted, right? This comes down over, which this will all be hidden in the lining anyway. We won't even see it, but we can see that it is gonna cover, and here's my zipper right there nicely in the seam. And I do need to sew a little bit more here on the bottom and the top because that did not get fully enclosed. So I'm going to turn it over and actually sew on the other side so I can see better. Whoop. And it did not like sewing through that bit of plastic. Okay, but I'm trying to close that opening. I did not put tabs on the end of my zippers, so I totally could have, but this is fine here now. So you can see how that one is enclosed tightly, and I want to do the same on the other side of the zipper as well. So it's definitely helping if I can close the zipper or fold it, and then sew here on, oh goodness, and I just broke my, okay, so don't sew on the zipper teeth. Not the right place to sew. Thankfully I have both pieces though. The other day I had to take my machine apart because of I could see the end of the needle and it was down inside the plate and I couldn't get it out. So I had to take it apart to pull that part of the needle out because I didn't want to keep sewing and have, you know, a broken needle down inside there causing all kinds of issues. Okay, let's see if this side is good too. Better. Okay, pretty good here, ladies. So there's my zipper. My plaid is still lined up pretty well as well. I didn't quite think about the fact that I was using such a patterned piece when I thought about cutting this in half. So obviously if this was a solid, this would be a lot easier to sort of fudge this zipper and not have you see that maybe my lines aren't perfect anymore, but I think they're pretty good. And once I press this, I think it should be all right. So the next thing I'm gonna do is actually I'm just gonna take the serger, and I can't, you know, my machine over here, I used to just slide it around all the time. I'm just gonna take the serger and I'm gonna serge around to secure the pocket pouch to the bottom edge of the bag, and that way it will be nice and really secure in there so that I don't have any holes in my pocket. And then I will be able to sew it sort of all as one piece when I'm assembling the bag. Okay, so hopefully that will work out. Okay, so now if we unzip our pocket, we have an actual pouch in there that has a bottom and sides. So, and I didn't, but you could top stitch along this edge of the zipper. I probably should have top stitched the zipper open top stitched the edge of the zipper before I sewed it all together, but I didn't. So there we have the zipper in the side seam. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is add the zipper tabs to the end of the zipper. Hopefully we can do this without breaking any more zippers. So I have kind of big, chunky zipper tabs here, and you'll see why as soon as I fold this up to the rest of my bag, because it's a little bit, my zipper's a little bit too short. It is not the recommended size in the pattern, but it's one that I had that already had the 2 pull tabs on it, which I really like. And it also is a separating one, but I don't need it to be separating. So I'm actually gonna unzip it a little bit and put the zipper tab over that bottom, and then let's see if we can sew over these plastic teeth without, I might crank over them because I don't want to break another needle. So sometimes instead of sewing over zippers or other tricky areas, you can see I'm just turning the hand crank and then I'll do that, and then once I get past that tricky area, I'll start sewing again. So I don't think it's advisable to always necessarily sew with the hand crank, but it does get me a nice finish over there. And you can see I was sewing over not these metal ends, but the plastic teeth to try and get a nice end on there. So this is the Essence 5200, which is a combo sewing and embroidery machine. So that's the one I'm using right now. All right, so we're gonna move on to installing the zipper on the top of the bag. So here's where you'll be able to see why I had to put on those zipper tabs, because really you want your zipper to go all the way across this circle, and mine was not long enough. But let's hope that with these tabs it is long enough. I didn't even necessarily measure. So I have to cut these more narrow. They're way too wide here. I'm not going to be able to line it up. So what I should probably do is find the center of the zipper and the center of my semicircle here. And place right sides together. Okay, so right side of the zipper on the right side of the fabric. Now, I want to make sure that when I pin this, when I put this up, the zipper tab goes to the top. It is just, oh my goodness, so close. I probably should have cut myself another inch, but I think it will work. I'm not taking those tabs off. So then you want to pin or clip your zipper in place all the way around up on one side of the bag. So we're going to sew it to one side of the bag, and then we'll sew it to the other. Again, this bag is so fun to make out of wool, flannel. I was also just thinking like a sweatshirt fleece or something cute like that. Fleece might be fun way to sew this bag as well. So those are some fabric ideas to sew this bag. And then the lining, I actually wish I had something cute, but I didn't really have any pieces of a lining fabric big enough. So I'm gonna leave my zipper foot on here as I sew this, just to help me get close as I'm sewing this big zipper in as well. Okay, so that is what we're gonna do now, is sewing this zipper in place from the top end of one of the curves of this bag. The end of the zipper has that plastic coating, and that's also not fun to sew over. So we're just gonna crank over it a couple times. Sometimes I find that when I do that sort of crank hand sewing, the stitches aren't very tight. It doesn't have the same sort of tension. So I will often have to go back over to reinforce or restitch that area. So just something to be aware of if you are doing that sort of sewing method, is that if the stitches seem really loose and aren't gonna hold for what you need it to, then you might have to go back and restitch over it. So these ends of the zippers are not wanting to play nice here for me. Okay, so now we can open up and see our zipper on the top of the bag, and you can see that I have those long zipper tabs on either side, but that just helps to fully enclose the zipper and not leave an open space. So we are going to run it right back to, I wonder if I should top stitch. What did I say to do in the tutorial? Oh, I sewed the lining right on. Oh, okay, well I guess I'm adding the lining and then I didn't top stitch. So, okay, so before we move on, and I'll do this side separately, and then the other side I'll do all in one. But we're gonna create a sandwich with the zipper being the center and the lining and the main fabric being the outer parts, because this will fully enclose that zipper seam. And so then when we flip it out, we won't see the edges of the zipper at all. Okay, and so this is how the inside of the bag is fully lined and we don't see the zipper. So good thing I checked my tutorial. Gotta know what I'm doing here. Boop. Okay. So I'm doing this in 2 steps, as you saw. So the first time I sewed the zipper to the front. Now I'm going to sew the lining to the other 2 sides. And on the other side of the zipper, I will sew it all in one so that you can kind of see the 2-step method or the 1-step method to do it. So we are simply sewing on the same line that we already sewed. I know there's some like ends of the zipper there, so I went nice and slow. This method is maybe harder for beginners because you can't see the zipper, whereas when I did it, you know, the other step first, I could see the zipper while I was sewing, but usually I will sew this all in one step instead of 2 different seams like I'm doing. But the end result is the same, so there's really no difference. It's just preference in how you do it. Okay, so now we open it up and we can see the inside of our bag, which we're going to add a pocket, but not on this side. And the outside, and here's the outside with my diagonal pocket, and then you can see that this is in there, but that's actually going to be hidden by the lining. And there is one side of our bag. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we open up the zipper to the right side, and we're going to take our other piece of flannel, which it was harder to find flannel than I thought this time of year. The spring fabric is already out. Okay, so I am with right sides together, right side of the zipper, right side of the bag, outer piece. I'm clipping the flannel in place, and this is reason 695,000 why I love clips is for zippers, because you don't have to try and stick your pin through the thick zipper material. It's just so lovely. So, okay, so there's the right side. So if I open this up, I see I have an enclosed zipper surrounded by both right sides of the bag. Yeah. So then I'm going to make the sandwich. So we're going to sew this all in one try this time. So I'm going to make the sandwich with the lining, and so we have outer zipper, then the lining, and the right sides of everything are together. So if your lining has a right side, it should be facing in. So we should be seeing the wrong sides of both of these pieces facing us. And any right sides of the fabric are hidden inside what we can't see. Okay, so now again we have all the layers of fabric, 2 layers of the bag and 1 layer of the zipper sandwiched in between here. And we're going to go ahead and sew it. I still have my zipper foot on there because we are still sewing around kind of this zipper. So, you know, we're just aware that we still have a zipper in here. And now none of these pieces are sewn together. So I have to be very aware of my layering and catching, and I can feel the zipper with my finger, and so that allows me to sew close but not too close to the zipper. Check the back side to make sure that flannel is being caught in this seam. You know, we don't want any weird gaps or things because we didn't properly sew these 3 layers, but you can, like I'm doing, sew all layers of a zipper together, and this would be the same method I would use if I was doing like a zipper pouch, whereas you can sew all the layers together at once, or you can do it in a couple of steps. Okay, so now we open it up, and on the outside, okay, we have our bag, and on the inside, we have a fully enclosed zipper in the lining. Okay, so you guys can see that as well. Okay, so let's check the tutorial here again to see. Okay, so now we're gonna do the inside pocket. So this side of my bag has a diagonal pocket, so we're going to put the second pocket on the lining of the opposite side. So that will be this side, okay? And I have cut sort of this long rectangle, and I'm gonna sew, I'm gonna sew 2.5 to 3 sides, and then the beeping of the machine, yes, you can. You can adjust everything. So that's, you know what, I don't even think about those things, but you're right, it is beepy. And I don't even notice it until you, oh yeah, speaker volume. There we go, it's off. It's funny how when someone points it out to you, then like this all you can hear is the beeping. But before that, yeah, I knew it beeped, but I didn't even really notice it. So what I like about this machine is I can turn the light down, and for general sewing, yes, we want a lot of light, but you guys know I take a lot of pictures while I'm sewing to create tutorials for you, and a big light reflecting down on where I'm trying to take the picture does not take good pictures. So actually on this machine, I have tape over the light so that it actually is not shining on there. And then this one, I have it turned down very, very low, which allows me to get really good, clear pictures of what I'm sewing, but makes it harder to see because this isn't actually lit up for me. So I usually leave it on, but if you needed to, you could know that that's an adjustment, is being able to turn the light. And obviously turn the beeping. You'll see here in a moment that it no longer beeps at me because I turned it down. So, all right, so now I'm gonna turn through this hole. And I kind of wanted a nice big pocket here, which this bag is gonna be even better than the one that I shared originally because that one had 2 sort of smallish pockets, and this one has 2 awesome big pockets. So I'm super excited about actually having maybe more usable pockets. I guess it depends on what you wanna put in them to see the size. Okay, so there's our rectangle, and we are going to fold in and clip the seam allowance. And then I'm going to stitch along, and this will be the top of our bag. Okay, so I'm going to top stitch along here, and I think we're done sewing around zippers. So let's go back to the regular foot. And of course, if you wanted, you could definitely give this a press here before you top stitch. You guys probably encountered this, but you know, sometimes when you're sewing really close to the edge of the fabric, how it like starts to get caught up under your foot and twisted and doesn't lay nicely. Yeah, I don't love that. But do you hear no more beeping? I got it turned off. Okay, so there's the edge of the pocket, and any little imperfections or non-square sides are really showing here in my plaid. It shows off anything you didn't get quite right. Okay, so I am just getting the lining here on the side opposite the other pocket. Okay, so this will be on the opposite side of the bag. So one side will have a zipper pocket on the outside, and the other side will have this just sort of flat pocket on the inside. Okay, so I don't have the lining or the outside fabric underneath. This is again just the lining, and I'm going to pin it in place and then just stitch around the outside to secure it to the lining fabric. So you want to make sure that it's not too close to any of the edges. I want to be able to sew all along here when we're assembling the bag and not have it too close. So I did not measure this pocket before I created it. I just cut a rectangle. So if your pocket is too big for your space, then you're going to have to go ahead and adjust that before you sew it in place. But I think we can make this one work. Okay, so there's my pocket on the inside of my bag, nice and big. And then we're going to just sew those three sides down. So you can use a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch or whatever you want to secure your bag to the lining. And then you're just going to go ahead and sew probably 1/8 of an inch, no more than 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the pocket to secure it down to that bag lining, and take out pins as you go. This is the first machine that I've sewed regularly on that does have this, you know, not auto presser foot, but you can push a button for the presser foot. And I find that most of the time I still will use the manual presser foot because, I don't know, one, it's faster. I just like to be able to adjust it with my hands. But I do appreciate that this machine still has the option of using the presser foot with your hand, or you have the press button presser foot. So I keep lifting the presser foot because, like I said before, that fabric keeps getting pinched in my presser foot, and then it doesn't sew as nice. So that's why I'm lifting and adjusting that several times as we go along here. So maybe it would be better if I had pressed my fabric. I don't know. Okay, got a little crazy there with the stitches. Okay, so let me trim this. All right, so there's my nice inside pocket. And now I have my 2 lining pieces and my 2 outer pieces. So let's see what the next step is. Okay, so the next step, we're going to take the strap, which is a 6x13 piece. Oh, and I will mention, I noticed today for the first time, even though I made this pattern like 3 years ago, that in the tutorial it says cut 2 outers and 2 inners, but on the actual printable pattern piece it says cut 1 on fold for the outer and cut 1 on the fold for the inner. But I would assume no one has brought it up to me because it's very obvious that you need 2 outers and 2 inners, or you're just looking at the written tutorial instead. But that is a typo on the printed pattern. Of course you need 2 outer bags and 2 inner bags to complete and sew this. So that part doesn't really make sense. All right, so here's the strap that we're going to attach. Okay, and now we're going to turn this right side out. See if I can use my device here to easily turn this. Okay. So here's your strap, right side out. And obviously we're going to put the seam sort of in the middle, and then this will be the outer part of the strap. Okay, just checking. All right, so now we open it up so you can see the main bag side with the zipper in the middle, and pin. Okay, so we're going to open this up to the right side, and the goal now is to pin this or clip it to the right side of the bag. Okay? So right sides to right sides, keeping that seam. Oh, I actually want to flip it over because that will be like that. So I want that hidden underneath. Okay, so think through where you want that strap placement. And then we're going to turn it around and do the same on the other side. And I have to just go double check again, but I think we're going to try to sew it only to the, I can't remember, are we sewing it to the lining and the outer, or just the outer? So only bag to the outside, you have to fold back the lining. Okay, so we're going to fold back the lining and just stitch this to the outer part of the bag. And you can see I still have a seam allowance on both sides of the strap, but I centered it in the middle. Okay, so it doesn't extend from end to end, but that's good because we're going to sew the sides of the bag together here in just a minute. Okay, so then if you lift this up, you can see there's my zipper, there's the tab, and then there's the top of the strap. Okay, so you can see it just has kind of a short little strap because it's this sort of sack. I don't know if sack bag is the right, I want to call it like a sack bag, but I really don't know if that is a good term for it. I'm just trying to figure out what I can do here with the lining, because in a minute we're going to sew this to this and this to this, because we sew the lining to itself and then we sew the outer to itself, and then we're going to turn it right side out. So to think about, if I just fold this out of the way, it's going to get pinched. I wonder if my lining before was a little bit shorter. I'm wondering. I don't know. When you haven't sewn something for a few years, I kind of forget. And then this is why sometimes when you guys ask me questions about a pattern, I'm like, I don't know. I haven't made it for a long time. And if I forgot to write it down when I was originally doing the pattern, it can be very tricky for me to remember. Okay. We're getting down there. We're almost to the end, you guys. You're doing great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, like I said, open this up and sew the, yeah, that's not gonna work. Maybe I'll just cut it. I'm cutting the lining away here that I sewed into that seam because it's really not gonna work because we're gonna sew the lining so that, but we don't need the lining way up there, so don't tell anyone how I just chopped it. So I'm going to put the lining together, or the outer of the bag together all the way around. And on this one side, we have this pocket pouch as part of our outer. So we're just gonna treat it all as one layer going around here. Okay, so it's just all together. Clips every several inches. And like I said, I did round the corners of this bag slightly more than the pattern. So if you like this rounded look, you're gonna want to round those off. If you want it to be a little bit more square, then you will have those a little bit more squared off. Should I have opened the zipper? I think I probably should have. Huh? Fold the bag, pin the entire. Yeah, okay. So I do need to make sure the zipper is open a little bit or I won't be able to turn it, ladies. And what is this? Okay, so let me opening up a section of the zipper. Okay, so that when we get to that point, we can actually turn it right side out and finish clipping along this outer edge, which one side seems to be way longer than the other. Weird. We'll see if it evens out as we sew. You guys know me, it's like never works out exactly how I envision, but it almost always works out to be okay. I'm not gonna win any awards here for perfect assembly though, on anything. Because I for sure end up winging part of it. Now, on the bottom of this lining piece, okay, so between these pocket edges, I am going to not sew, and then we can use that as a place to turn the bag right side out. So we're gonna leave our opening on the inside of the lining, which will be easy for us to go back and close later, and then no one will ever see it. So that's why we're going to choose to do it there. All right, so you can now sew these two curved edges of the bag, either on the serger or on your sewing machine, depending on your fabric and depending on your comfort level on those machines. I'm going to sew at least the lining on the serger, just to make sure this fabric doesn't fray. This lining fabric is pretty thin, and I'm kind of afraid if I only sew it with the regular sewing machine that parts of it might fray open. So I'm not sure if I want to sew the thicker double layer of flannel with this machine or not. So give me a second to think about that while I'm sewing this part. Okay, so I just took off the machine to leave that opening for turning. Okay, and then we're coming back around up to the top of the bag. Okay, so we have this part where we have a hole for turning, and then we have to sew the outer part of the bag, and I think I'm gonna try to sew it with my serger, but if it's too thick, I'll be sad and I'll abandon and switch back over. Now this one we don't have to leave a turning hole, so you are going to sew all the way around that curved edge of the bag. Again, on this bottom part, it's a little bit thicker because we already basted in that pocket, but that's going to make sure that the pocket is really reinforced in that bottom and doesn't end up with any weird holes. That's the worst, is when one of your purse pockets gets a hole and then, you know, your pens and things end up like weird inside the lining and you're like, I can feel it, but I can't get it out. So that happens to me all the time. Like my chapstick is lost in the abyss of a purse, especially if it's one that I've been using for a long time, because those pockets seem to eventually get holes in them, and then, yeah, things get lost. Okay, now on the right side, we had kind of this hole here, and maybe I addressed this. I better check. When I turned it right side out, do I address the... Okay, I just fold flat and top stitch. Okay, so let's turn it right side out and see, and then we'll check out that hole on the side of the straps. Okay, so this is where we not only left a hole in the lining, but we also left a hole in the zipper so that we can pull this all the way through, hopefully. I always get to this point in my project and I think, oh, did I sew it wrong? Did I sew it right? Is this actually the way it's supposed to be? And I never quite know until it's all revealed. And sometimes in this moment where you're thinking, this is too twisted, this is not right, but usually it ends up okay. All right, so gotta pull this out. Okay, so here is this hole that we're talking about on either side. It's on either side of the outside, okay? So what I did was I simply folded the straps in half and top stitched, and then that kind of just holds the edges of the bag together as well. And I'm gonna top stitch on the strap, not the bag. So that's what we're gonna do for that. But in the meantime, we also need to open up the zipper. Oh, it's caught on the lining. So maybe my lining being thin is not great because it might get caught in the zipper, but we need to close this hole that we left in here, okay? So before I get too far distracted down the line, I want to fold the seam allowances in. We're so close to being finished, and then I'll show you guys the final result. Okay, so fold that seam allowance in, and then I'm just going to top stitch. Again, pretty close to the edge, keeping those edges folded in and using it to close the opening of the bag, and make sure you get all the way where it's closed. Again, no lost items in the bag lining. Okay, so now we can tuck, and then here's our nice, awesome big pocket. Okay, so there's the inside of my bag. Shake it down inside. And here's my really great inside pocket there. And then I might have to top stitch to keep my lining out of the way. So if I do that, what I will do is I'll just fold both back and I'll just top stitch along there to secure that down so that the lining doesn't keep getting stuck in my zipper. So I might do that. I might use it for a day and see how it feels. And then here we have our outside pocket too with our fun outside diagonal pocket, which may need a little bit of work, but still so fun. Okay, so let me top stitch, like I said, along those straps to secure and close that hole. And this is a little bit thick, so I'll go a long time without breaking a zipper, and I get super confident in the machine and its abilities, and I never think about breaking needles, and I get tons of confidence, and then I break a needle and all of a sudden I become a scaredy cat with thick materials and going over big bunchy areas like this. So you've caught me in kind of a fearful stage because I've broken a couple needles lately. Okay, but this really is a nice and super easy finish here to the straps. So you can see how I just top stitched that, and it totally is holding it down. It keeps the shape of this bag here, and then it also makes the strap super cute on there. I'm trying to think if that's how I did it. I might have opened it up less. Oh, I might have actually done it different on the last one. So look at the pattern if you don't like the way I just sewed this handle, because I think the last time I did it, I like flattened it more this way instead of folding it this way and sewed across that way. And then it was less folded and more flat. So yeah. Okay, let's take a quick look. So cute. I can't wait to put all my stuff in it and use it. So depending on which arm you are, you might want to think about that, because I do it with my right hand arm. It is very tricky to get to this diagonal zipper, but with my left hand it works. So, you know, I don't think of these things till after, but so cute, right? So excited about my new bag, and I'm gonna put all my things in it and take it the next time I go out. So I hope that this tutorial inspired you to try some new things, one, and two, make this bag. It's really easy. I mean, I made it super futzy with my new zipper, and I mean, but you could keep it super simple. You could put a magnetic clasp instead of the zipper on the top if you wanted to keep it even easier. Really, there's so many options. It's just a really easy, fun shape bag, and it's one you should try. So if you do make one, please share photos in our Life Sew Savory pattern group. I forgot to link it in the description of this video, but you can easily find it by just searching Life Sew Savory pattern group on Facebook, and you'll find it there. And it's such a great place to show off the things that you're making, and everyone loves to see them and say hi and comment on the things. And it's a very positive group, so no worries about, we love to see any sewing, okay? Beginning, middle, more advanced than, I know some of you are way more advanced than I am, but like, show it all off. It's so fun to see what you guys are making. So anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for sewing with me today, and I will be back next week with another fun sewing tutorial. Bye.